his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's
How
totally
bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad I let you speak. That's
Do you feel your memory has gotten worse, Mr. President?
My memory has not gotten. My memory is fine. My memory. Take a look at what I've done since I become president. None of you thought I could pass any of the things I got passed. How'd that happen? You know, I guess I just forgot what was going on.
Mr. President.
Do voters have concerns about your age? How are you going to assuage them? And do you fear that this report is only going to fuel further concerns about your age?
Only by some of you.
Mr. President.
All right, so trying to recover here tonight, but I don't think it's going to happen. Look at the words from this NBC News story tonight. By the way, it's News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Hour number 2 of the Chris Crock Show tonight. It's a nightmare, told a Democrat House member, told NBC News tonight, asked to speak anonymously. It weakens President Biden electorally, and Donald Trump would be a disaster and authoritarian for Democrats. We're in a grim situation. Beyond devastating, another one says. A longtime Democrat operative who noted said it's been a problem since way before this ever happened. The operative who noted that when focus groups are asked to apply one word to Biden, it is often old. And they're talking about how just this week he talked about seeing a dead president, prime minister out of France. Then he talked about seeing a dead president, chancellor out of Germany. And then tonight he said Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is from Mexico, not Egypt. And so many things. And another Democratic operative told NBC News tonight, this is the third one, this is beyond devastating. It confirms every doubt and concerns that voters have. If only the only reason they did charge him is because he's too old to be charged. They didn't charge him is because he's too old to be charged. And how can he be president of the United States? Let's make this clear, guys. He literally was deemed incompetent to stand trial. The president of the United States of America tonight was literally deemed incompetent to stand trial. So that's number one, which means he cannot be the president because under the 25th Amendment, he literally, if he can't be held liable for his actions because he's too incompetent, too old, can't remember anything, and has no idea what he's saying, and doesn't remember the year his son died, doesn't remember that he supported the general, now he says he's against him, doesn't remember the years he was senator, when he was vice president even, the years, all that according to the special counsel, who is not our friend. It's amazing. So I want to hear from you right now. Do you think this is the end of his presidency? Do you think they're going to force him out? Do you think he's going to get out? And do you think this is rigged in this case so much so that they're making excuses like they did for Hillary? They're literally saying, well, a jury won't convict him because he's too incompetent, which means you can't be president. By the way, this is, again, the prosecutor never, just like with the BS from the FBI with what's his name, Comey. The FBI, the prosecutor, the special counsel, they never determine what a judge and grand jury determine. That is for the judge and the grand jury. The FBI did it before with Comey, and this time it's the special counsel, he decided for the jury. Oh, they wouldn't want to convict him. His sympathies, he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's not his job. His job isn't to say what the jury will do. He doesn't know what jurisdiction it's going to be seated in. He doesn't know the names of these people. He doesn't know the name of the federal judge that's going to hear the case. He has no idea. He has no idea how they would rule on this case. He literally rigged it again. This is all rigged. Trump can say he's incompetent. I'm not. That's why I'm standing trial, and he's not. Love it. Love it. But do you think this means Joe's going to step down? Do you think the Democrats are going to shove him out? I want to hear your thoughts on this tonight. We're going to speak to a legal expert coming up next from a conservative legal group, the Public Interest Legal Foundation, coming up next about not only the Colorado case at the Supreme Court today. It was damning. I've got some great audio that shows how damning the Supreme Court case was in their hearings, the oral arguments today. But and we're also going to ask her about this special counsel's release tonight. Let's go to Ted in Frisco. By the way, lines wide open for you. We got 4 lines open, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Want to hear from you right now. Let's go to Ted in Frisco. You're on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Ted.
Hey, Chris. Good to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I really think Biden stays. I don't think it's his choice, really. I don't think he's been president since 2000, since the start of his term. I don't think he's been president. I think there are a set of people around him making all the decisions. And if he resigns, that changes their power structure. That changes their deal. And I don't think whoever they are, they want that. So I think he sticks around and they prop him up. But
I think you're right, because they can't replace him at this point, because then it has to be Kamala, because the African American folks will go apoplectic. That's not me saying that. That is them and core African American leaders that are the core of the Democrat Party. I think you had someone like James Clyburn, who's like a kingmaker, saying that she is going to be the next rightful heir. So this is a disaster. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think they can't take the risk that she changes their deal. And as bad as Joe Biden was tonight, Kamala would be infinitely worse. The big screw up tonight was they were trying to get him off the stage and they couldn't.
He came back to do the answering on. He wanted to speed up Israel a little bit more. He's trying to get. They made an appointment to go see. They made a new scheduled to go to Michigan and hump the Muslim population's leg because they all hate him now. Call him Genocide Joe, and they said they'll never vote for him again. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a tough act to keep him going, kind of like Weekend at Bernie's, but. I think they don't let him resign. They prop him up. They tell him he was fine and forceful, and they hang on as long as they can.
Well, listen, I think he will not resign. I think they'd like him to, but they're in such a bad situation. To replace him now would be a disaster, and it would have to be the Kamala, and she's a freaking disaster. He's in the mid-30s to upper 30s, which is not – you can't get reelected at that. But then Kamala's at 28, so, I mean, that's you can't get anything with that. I mean, that's the Hindenburg. This whole thing is the Hindenburg, but he will not resign. He will not step down. I believe you know that too, don't you? He will not. It's just who he is. He's pride.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think he's invested in it. I think even though he's not really the president, he's invested in it.
He's got too much pride. That's what I think. Listen, great call, Ted. I look forward to your next one. Thank you so much. All right, up next, we're going to talk to the spokesperson for the Director of Communications, I should say, for the Public Interest Legal Foundation. They filed an amicus brief today on the Colorado Supreme Court hearing from the U.S. Supreme Court in oral arguments about President Trump staying on the ballot. But she's also going to chime in about this case with the special counsel. So she's going to talk to us coming up next on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3 on The Chris Kroc Show. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. All right, we have so much to talk about in the legal world tonight. We got, first of all, we had an amazing Supreme Court hearing today between the justices and the state of Colorado. It seemed to go over like a Led Zeppelin. And I want to talk to our legal director of communications here for the Public Interest Legal Foundation, Lauren Bowman, about this. And Lauren, if you're cool, that I wanted to talk to you. First of all, welcome to the show tonight on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Chris Kroc Show, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Great. And I should say that you served previously before the Public Interest Legal Foundation as a member of President Trump's White House communication team, which is fantastic. And I want to ask you also about this documents case. Has your Public Interest Legal Foundation come out with a statement on this or a position on this? Because it seems absurd. They're declaring him, the special counsel is declaring him incompetent and too old and incompetent and forgetful to stand trial, which means he's incompetent for trial, which means he shouldn't be president. And then also, doesn't it seem a double standard here? Because it literally, the standard for this is gross negligence, and Biden certainly had gross negligence with the documents. Doesn't matter if it's willful or not, if he's too old or he forgets or not. Doesn't matter, does it?
Right. We're following that. Our big thing about it is we need to see equal treatment under the law. That's a basic principle in this country. And, in the documents case that's proceeding with Trump, they're not going to give him an excuse like this to get out of something. And even if they did, then he shouldn't be president. We need to have mentally competent leaders. And Joe Biden has proven time and time again when he's using the wrong name or looking for someone that's passed away or doesn't know where he is and is wandering off stage to get ice cream, that he has mental issues. But that is not an excuse for this type of negligence that is a danger to our national security.
And Lauren, did he not, Special Counsel Hur today, did he not do exactly what James Comey did by coming out and doing the judge and prosecute and the jury's job today by saying, well, a jury would not want to find this man guilty? That's not a prosecutor's job, is it?
No, that's not. That is not the prosecutor's job at all. It is to you take that to the jury. You let the jury make those decisions. You make the case of what you saw, and what he saw was gross negligence by the current president with these documents.
So this is a second Hillary Clinton rigged case, and is it not showing that this case is rigged once again, and Trump's is rigged to have him in on it? They what do you call it? They've got him. What do you call it? He's done. They're trying to convict him already.
Right. It just goes to show that there's a different set of rules for Republicans than there are for Democrats. Republicans are going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. There's going to be these massive witch hunts against them. We've seen it time and time again with President Trump. But if Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden does something that's illegal, they push it under the rug and we never hear about it again, and they let them walk away. Mm-hmm. And that's not acceptable, and that really angers the American people, and I think it led to a big victory for Trump in 2016, and I think Democrats are playing right into that hand again as we head into 2024 elections.
Lauren Bowman, Director of Communications for the Public Interest Legal Foundation. I want to ask you about this other huge case today. There was another top headline story that the Supreme Court of the United States of America was hearing the case from Colorado that somehow Trump is an insurrectionist and should be taken off from the ballot. There's so many things that are wrong in here. It looks like we're going to get an 8-1 or a 9-0 Supreme Court decision, destroying the Colorado Supreme Court's 4-3 decision. What do you think?
I'm with you there. The justices' questions totally revealed that they believe that this is a dangerous path that Colorado and the Maine Secretary of State are going down, where they're trying to remove the power away from the voters to elect our leaders and give it to radical bureaucrats or people in the courts. And I think it was a great moment today for the country, for these justices to rise above partisan politics, to kind of come together through what we were seeing in their questions and show that they're here to protect the Constitution and that there are still some great institutions in this country that can rise above the partisanship that we're seeing. So
some of the interesting aspects of this, too, were the definition of insurrection and how, number one, with taking him off the ballot in Colorado, number one, let me play Justice Kagan, if I could. This is just a stinging rebuke, really. This is from, of course, one of the most liberal justices in the Supreme Court.
No, there has to be some process for determining those questions. And then the question becomes, does anything in the 14th Amendment say that only Congress can create that process? And Section 5 very clearly is not an exclusive provision. It says Congress shall have power.
But maybe put most boldly, I think that the question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States. In other words, this question of whether a former president is disqualified for insurrection to be president.
So basically she's saying, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Lauren, but one state will get to take them off the ballot while other states might leave them on the ballot? Or does one state get to decide for every state what happens? I mean, this is insane.
Right. And then she was pointing that out. And then Justice Roberts jumped in right after that, the Chief Justice, and said, well, wait, what if we end up with other states taking other presidential candidates off, alluding to Biden and having just really one state that gets to actually have two candidates on the ballot who make that final decision. And they are seeing that danger ahead. They are not blinded by their hatred for Trump or their love for him and their reasoning on this. They're seeing, oh my gosh, we could end up with only one state that's actually having a fair election. The Supreme Court is going to release this decision, and it's going to be a huge win and a return to normalcy against some of this hatred against Trump that we've been seeing across the country lead to some really crazy things happening.
Lauren Bowman, the Director of Communications in the Public Interest Legal Foundation, you guys filed an amicus brief, front of the court's brief, in this case today that was heard by the Supreme Court. What was the basic premise of your brief? Right.
The basic premise was that there are qualifications in the Constitution that are clearly laid out to be president, which includes, you have to be 35 years of age, you have to be a United States citizen. And the court has previously upheld that you cannot pass states cannot pass additional qualifications. Mm-hmm. And this is just a different qualification that that Colorado wants to put on the former president that they can't do constitutionally.
He's also not an officer. He appoints officers. The people elect him. Therefore, he's not an officer, as they try to say he is in their case against Trump here, right?
Right. We touched on that in our brief as well. And, that was really interesting part of the argument was to see Justice Jackson, President Biden's appointed judge.
Super liberal.
Honing in.
Yes.
Honing in on it, textualizing, saying they don't use the term president. Why are we supposed to assume this applies to him? She even said, if there is ambiguity, why should we construe ambiguity against democracy?
Amen.
And people?
Amen. Well said.
Yeah.
Let me play one more from Gorsuch. It kind of hits on what you were saying about him.
I think, again, the de facto officer doctrine would nevertheless come into play to say this is...
No, de facto, that doesn't work, Mr. Murray, because de facto officer is to ratify the conduct that's done afterwards and insulate it from judicial review. Put that aside. I'm not going to say it again. Put it aside, okay? I think Justice Alito's asking a very different question, a more pointed one, and more difficult one for you, I understand. But I think it deserves an answer. On your theory, would anything compel a lower official to obey an order from, in your view, the former president?
I'm imagining a situation where, for example, a former president was, a president was elected and they were 25 and they were ineligible to hold office, but nevertheless they were put into that office.
We're talking about Section 3. Please don't change the hypothetical, okay? Please don't change the hypothetical.
I'm going to pause because we got to wrap for a second, but Lauren, can you stick with me just to play the rest of this and your reaction to it, and then we'll kind of wrap up with it? Is that okay?
Yes, that works.
All right, stand by. Lauren Bowman, who is joining us tonight, Director of Communications for the Public Interest Legal Foundation, nonprofit law firm dedicated to election integrity, filed an amicus brief today in the hearing with the Supreme Court. Also, she's a former member of Trump's White House communications team. Stand by. We're going to take her and finish this off and finish you got to hear this bite. It's incredible. He smacks this guy down. And then we'll wrap up with Lauren and we'll take some calls from your thoughts on this. Do you feel it's another attempt to stop us for voting for President Trump? Do you think this is going to backfire on the Democrats and help Trump? And do you think it's all part of a national campaign, as I do, led by Biden to remove his opponent from the ballot instead of beating him fair and square? Lawfare. 800-288-WBAP is our number. We'll take your call coming up next on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Chris Kroc Show. And Lauren Bowman is the Director of Communications for the Public Interest Legal Foundation. She also served previously as a member of President Trump's White House communications team. Joining us tonight, you filed an amicus brief with the Supreme Court in the hearing today. I want to play one more piece of audio and get your final take on this, and appreciate you very much for joining us tonight, by the way. All right, here we go.
On your theory, would anything compel a lower official to obey an order from, in your view, the former president?
I'm imagining a situation where, for example, a former president was, a president was elected and they were 25 and they were ineligible to hold office, but nevertheless they were put into that office.
We're talking about Section 3. Please don't change the hypothetical, okay? Please don't change the hypothetical. I know I like doing it too, but please don't do it, okay?
Well, the point I'm trying to make is
he's disqualified from the moment he committed an insurrection. Whoever it is, whichever party, that happens. Boom. It happened. what would compel, and I'm not going to say it again, so just try and answer the question. If you don't have an answer, fair enough, we'll move on.
Ouch, right, Lauren?
Right. I mean, there was times that he was just getting eaten alive by the justices. As you heard one there was once when they said, please just answer my question, sir. It's not helpful when you don't answer my questions. I mean, he was running back, challenging. It was a very glacial environment for him in there. And I just think it goes to show we're going to have, it's not a unanimous decision, an 8-1 decision from the court.
And then do you expect the Democrats to freak out and say we need to pack to court, and this is why? How can they do that when freaking Ketanji Jackson Brown, the most liberal person in the world that I can know of that's been nominated and put it in for the Supreme Court, and then others like Kagan, I think Sotomayor is the only one that might not go along with it, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, what do you think the left will do with that? I mean, are they going to call for a replacement of these? I mean, what could they do?
Right. That's why I think the Chief Justice is going to work really hard for this to be 9-0. So to make all of these arguments coming, we need to pack the court, we need to do this, it's controlled bipartisanship, all those attacks against it go away. I mean, they're really going to have no options. And if they were smart, they'd look upon this as a saving grace and say, oh, my gosh, the court just saved us from really making the American voters angry by taking this effort national to remove Trump from the ballot to other states. They should retreat from this, but I don't think they're smart enough to. They hate Trump so much, they're just going to keep going after him like they have for the past 8 years, and they're just going to continue this witch hunt they have against him. I'm sure of it.
Lauren, will this finish off the arguments, as far as you're aware of this case right here, as far as you're aware of, will this finish off the attempts to take him off the ballot in all these states?
This should, yes. The court's decision here should put an end to this and stop all this craziness that's going on with regards to this. Of course, he's still got all these other legal fights going on, but at least the ballot issue should be decided from this case right here.
Well, thank goodness. Lauren, great job tonight. I appreciate you very much. Look forward to having you all on again at you're the Director of Communications for Public Interest Legal Foundation. Lauren Bowman, thank you, and thank you for what your foundation does for all of us standing up for democracy and fighting this garbage with the elections they're trying to do. It's unbelievable, this lawfare.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm from Dallas, and my dad listens to your show and calls in occasionally.
All right!
It's fun to be on.
Woo! Hey, your dad's got to be so proud that his DFW daughter was on the Trump team. I mean, my gosh, you can't get any bigger and better than that.
Oh, he was. He came to the White House Christmas party one year, and he had quite a good time.
Yes! Dude, that is so awesome. Dude, you have outdone anything I've gotten my parents in on over the years. I mean, I've got a lot of cool things with them, all sorts of things over the years, really, really neat things. But this one takes the cake. You got it, Lauren. You win. Take care and congrats.
Thanks,
all right, take care
bye.
now. All right, bye. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, she told me that before, and this dad has to be so proud. Her dad has got to be so proud. I mean, dude, I think of all the neat things I've done with my parents. All sorts of things I can go into that are really incredible. Like, oh my gosh, But because we get a lot of neat perks and privileges and access as talent radio people. But she takes it right there. Okay, so I want to hear from you right now on this SCOTUS case. The Supreme Court looks like it's going to be 8-1 or 9-0, saying this is bogus, and this will end the stupid, get them off the ballot. These people are sick, and I don't think the American people like this. I really don't. I think they've rejected all this, which is why Trump's numbers have gone so high, because I think they're like, let us decide. The Orange Man might be bad, but we decide, not you. This is really vile and reprehensible to me. Do you feel this is another attempt to stop us from voting for President Trump? Just an end run around us voting for him. And do you think this will backfire on the Democrats and help Trump once again? And do you think this is all part of a national campaign led by Biden to remove his opponent from the ballot instead of him beating Trump fair and square? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Chime in right now at 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227. This is an attempt to stop us from voting for the person we want to elect as our president. It is clear as day. The president does. Joe Biden has been coordinating this nationally. You have never seen in your life, nor have I, that I'm aware of, ever, any local prosecutor For example, the Georgia prosecutor, Fonnie Willis from Atlanta, she's in a heap of trouble from Fulton County. And the prosecutor, Alvin Bragg from New York City, you've never seen any of them go to the White House to get guidance and work with them on a case, have you? No. Do you know why? Because this is what the Democrats want. You want to become a Democrat superstar and stay in for good and for life and get promoted and be a big name in your party? You go to the White House and Joey is going to have you sit on his lap and he's going to tell you what he wants you to do, be his legal advisors. So this whole thing is a joke. It's disgusting. It's un-American. It's undemocratic. And if anybody's doing insurrection, we're trying to overthrow what the government does and what the people do, it's these guys, if you will. So that's number one. I pray it'll backfire on the Democrats. I think it is, by all the evidence set forth, and the polls are insane. Trump is now leading in the latest poll that came out the other day from very liberal NBC News. Trump leads by 5 points nationally. When you lead 5 points nationally, that usually bodes extremely well. He's also leading in most swing states. I think you're going to see a lot of people. Now, look, I was driving home last night and listened to some analysis, and I do think that a lot of the Democrats are going to come home to the Democrat Party and vote for this incompetent man. But I think a lot are also going to stay home. How do the African Americans who are screaming and yelling in their own neighborhood about their public, their local community center being shut down, their kids having nowhere to go? One of the women saying yesterday, I played you the audio of the African American woman in Boston saying they want our kids to be like animals. That's what they want. That's what she said. And then another guy was screaming and yelling, I work a full-time job and I'm homeless and I can't afford anything, and now you just took this from me. And he's screaming, dropping 10, 15 F-bombs in front of the cops. And the cops they can't advocate, especially when people are recording it, but they were basically like, we understand. They're doing what my friends who are cops do in situations like this. They're basically saying, dude, you have no idea how much I agree with you. I'm not voting for this idiot, and you're right, but I can't do that because my job is just to sit here and stop you from going in so the illegals can take over your community center. And let me tell you something. The other thing coming up next, we're going to get into this, is Governor Abbott held a press conference today at the border. This has been an incredibly insane news day today, guys. I'm going to tell you that right now, because the lead earlier was Governor Abbott having his press conference at the border today with 20 Texas state representatives from the State House of Representatives, along with the border czar that Abbott has and the head of DPS. I've got highlights that I'm going to play from you for you of that. And we're going to talk about that. So that was my number one hit. But then comes this Supreme Court thing, and then comes this bombshell of Joe Biden, which we're going to get right back into at 11 o'clock tonight, saying he's too old and too senile to be able to be a witness or to be able to be put on trial, which means he's incompetent, mentally incompetent to stand trial, which means he's literally, 25th Amendment, incompetent to be the president of the United States of America. And the Democrats are absolutely panicking tonight. I mean, they are freaking panicking. Even fake news CNN, all the slugs on the screen, the graphics at the bottom are saying too old and too incompetent and too old and bad memory to be on trial. I mean, NBC News tonight described it as a nightmare, beyond devastating. They had 4 different operatives and Congress members that were all Democrats saying this is a disaster, this is a nightmare, we can't take them off the ballot, but we're ruined, this is ruining everything, it's bad. This is catastrophic. And Joe thought he could go on and be old Joe and save himself, but tonight he said that President Assisi, which is the Egyptian president, instead he said he was the president of Mexico. He said he wants to bring back Roe versus Ward instead of Roe versus Wade. He said he wants to bring the blue states and the green states together instead of red states. And he also could not remember, he was invoking his son's rosary and how it was from Our Lady of blank church, and he sat there and had a frozen Mitch moment for 10 seconds or 8 seconds and did not say anything, could not remember the church in front of the world. This man is a hollow shell. We all know it. It's even worse now. It's codified in the special counsel's report tonight. But here's the deal with that. Joe's not stepping down. He is not going to step down. We'll take your calls on that throughout the night as well at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. But coming up next, I want to get into Governor Abbott's press conference at the border today. You're going to hear some highlights, and we're going to talk about, he's touting the success at the border, how there's so few illegals coming in invading at all, where they're putting up our blockades and the razor ribbon and the Texas DPS and the guardsmen are arresting the illegal illegals who are trespassers. Every one of them are illegals and are trespassing. And I think we're really winning this fight, and I'm proud of Governor Abbott. He's punching to Joe Biden in the face today on national television. They carried it on Fox. We carried it. All that's coming up next. Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3.
First, an update about some numbers from the Texas Department of Public Safety. They have made over 39,000 criminal arrests. They have apprehended more than 480,000 illegal migrants. They've deterred more than 95,000 illegal entries and engaged in more than 4,300 bailouts. They have filed more than 19,000 charges for smuggling.
News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. So you're seeing exactly how effective it is, isn't it? You're seeing that Governor Abbott's border, and literally, to me, he came out today and he swung punches and landed them on Biden. I don't know if the mainstream caught any of this. They probably didn't, and all they like to do is vilify him. But we are beating the pants out of Biden. You know why, though? Because we're enforcing the law, and he's not. I got more from Governor Abbott at his press conference today, just to let you know what happened. A couple of things. First of all, He had a press conference with 20 Texas House representatives, his DPS deputy director, and his border czar. And then also the NBC News reported this today. Biden administration is considering executive action to deter illegal immigration at the southern border. Don't you think he could have done this 3 years ago? So do you think the public, the voters, are going to actually support Joe Biden's immigration policies after this? Or do you think it's too late? That's what I want to hear from you. I think it's way too late. I don't think they're going to change his mind. And the idea, this NBC News article says, well, you know, the Democrat sanctuary cities, they're going to be getting some relief now. They're going to be relieved. No, they're not. The illegals that are in there aren't going anywhere. Do you know that this is incredible? Yesterday, I heard on the news that in Denver, 800 illegals yesterday were just kicked out of Denver housing. They're like, we can't have you anymore. You got 60 days or 30 days. It's past that. We can't afford it. You're out on the streets. You know what they're doing now all over downtown Denver? I'm not kidding. I wish I was exaggerating this. I heard the audio from Fox. They are literally begging. I heard it on Hannity. They're literally begging. They don't even speak English. A man from Venezuela, for example, was begging with a sign in English for food on the streets. How's that going to play out for voters? How's that going to play out for Democrats? How's that going to play out for people that would vote for Joe Biden? Do you think they're going to be changed because Joe Biden, I got an executive order, I'm going to stop this? Who the heck's been doing it for 3 years? Why? There's like 30 or 40 or 50,000 illegals in Denver alone. I think it's 40,000. So they're done. They're done. The people are done. They're angry. A lot of people on the street that was interviewed by the Fox News reporter for Hannity were saying just that. So, NBC News says, well, the Democrat mayors are going to be pleased. It's too late. And look at this. You think that just because Joe Biden waves his hand and finally does what he could have done 3 years ago with executive orders or maintaining what Trump had, do you think that's going to change the fact that right now Donald Trump leads Joe Biden by 30 points? According to an NBC News poll, Trump leads Biden by 30 points on the border and controlling immigration. So, do you honestly think they're going to just change all of a sudden? Or do you think it's too late? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. Chime in right now. Do you want Governor Abbott, a couple other questions for you, to keep hitting back the illegals hard as he's doing, arresting them, putting up razor wire, and anything else we can do? I say yes, and we know it's working. The numbers speak for themselves. He said it right there. The amount of arrests have plummeted. It has plummeted. It has stopped. In fact, let me play this other one for you. Chime in right now, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. There we go. You got to hear this one.
We're here to explain to America that we are dealing with the biggest border crisis since America had borders. It's all because Joe Biden allowed this entire area to be penetrated by the drug cartels that smuggled in illegal immigrants. If you see an area that is boxed off by a container, that has razor wire on the container or on the ground or on the fence. Those are areas that illegal immigrants were once able to cross that are now unable to cross.
So it's working. It is so working. Do you know where they've surged to now? Arizona. They've surged to the Tucson sector. The numbers are insane. So I want to ask you again, our number's wide open here for you. The line's wide open, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Do you think Joe Biden issuing executive orders right now to stop this 3-year illegal invasion, you think that's going to stop Americans from blaming him for the problem, Biden? And do you think the effects will still be felt in the major U.S. cities and that folks will not forget what Joe Biden did for his first 3 years in office? And here's the other thing. Do you think this is a forgivable offense, what Joe Biden's done for 3 years to this country? Is it a forgivable offense to you? It's not to me. I'll never forget and I'll never forgive for this because it is not, it was a willful choice. It's a wanton choice, and he's still doing it. He's not admitting that he did it, and he's not denying it. He's not coming clean and saying, I shouldn't have done this. It was my amnesty policy. So, no, I don't, it's not forgivable because he won't even admit his mistake. It wasn't a mistake. That's why, because it was intentional. 800-288-WBAP is a number. Chime in right now on the Chris Crock Show on Newstalk 820 WBAP. Coming up next, I've got more audio to play for you from Governor Abbott's press conference tonight. I'm also going to tell you what the White House says they're going to do. Supposedly, they're also saying because the Republicans didn't vote on the bill, some bad things are going to happen with ICE. You got to hear all that. Coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on Newstalk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.